Ask Reddit daily, what's something the internet killed that you miss? My eyesight. I told you you'd go blind if you kept doing that. At least I don't have to shave my palms. I miss when concerts didn't have a sea of people filming a video from their phone. I remember Paul McCartney complained about this recently. I think when he had a show at the Cavern Club he politely requested no cell phones and someone still took theirs out. Wish I was old enough to experience one without them. It was great. A sea of lighters and slow songs has so much more warmth and glow than cell phone lights. YouTube before big labels and false claim chop shops ruined it. I've actually started downloading the more obscure, enjoyable videos I like because I have no confidence they will be there in a year. This is just good practice. If you find something you like on the web, download it. It sadly won't be there forever. I've heard that once on internet, always on the internet. Now you're telling me that everything in the internet will eventually disappear. I don't know what to believe anymore. It's the internet paradox. It will always be on the internet, but you'll never be able to find it. Saturday morning cartoons. As I get older, I realize the ritual of a thing is just as important as the actual thing itself. It's not just about the cartoons. Watching them as an adult, many of the cartoons from the 80s and early 90s were terrible. Rather it was the event of Saturday morning cartoons that I miss. My daughters can watch whatever they want whenever they want to watch it. They don't know what it is like to have to wait for a week for a new episode. They usually just binge their shows whenever they want. If my kids want to spend the entire weekend watching My Little Pony, then can. And they can do it the week after, too. They don't know what it is like to miss an episode of Power Rangers because it was now scheduled at 7 AM instead of 6:30 and I had to leave for school. They also don't have to watch TV together. They can just watch whatever on their phones or tablets or on the TV in the living room. Nothing, except my wife and I, stop them from consuming the specific entertainment that they want. As someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s, you said it. I was always up before cartoons came on. At 7 o'clock, there was some kind of animal show on at 6 AM. Then at 6:30, the news came on. At 7 AM, the Super Friends came on. When that was over, I changed over to ABC to watch Scooby-Doo. Saturday morning cartoons were great. You couldn't see them any other day of the week. If you missed them, you had to wait a whole week before it was back on. Same thing with the holiday specials. If you missed it, you had to wait an entire year before you could see it again. No VCRs or anything to record it, you just had to wait. The Halloween cartoons were the ones I liked the most. It just wasn't Halloween unless you saw It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown and Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Man, I miss those days. Having a mental catalog of great jokes that most people hadn't heard. It was so much fun to drop a few at parties and get some laughs. I remember how people like that were always the best to have around. They were like joke wizards. Like many people, I'm often nostalgic for the feeling of brick and mortar rental stores. I can't describe the joy I felt walking into a Blockbuster on a Friday night hoping the new movie I wanted to rent wasn't sold out, and getting overpriced movie snacks while waiting in line. One of my fondest memories was Halloween night when was like 8 and I begged my dad to let me watch the first Halloween, since he always raved about it. We finally went to Blockbuster but he warned me it's very possible it would be sold out. I waited in the car with my mom and he came out with a bunch of snacks giving us the thumbs up. I went frickin' mental, haha. Reading a book before bed. Now I mostly surf the web until I get tired. I've been trying to break that habit myself. Even with night screen enabled, I find that looking at my phone makes it hard to go to sleep, whereas reading a book wouldn't have that effect on me. But it's so damn hard. I usually end up down some rabbit hole of nonsense on my phone. I simply lose track of time. Artificial light does weird things to your circadian rhythm. I had the same problem. What worked for me was moving my charger outside of my bedroom and plugging in my phone overnight. Can't get lost on Reddit if you don't have the phone with you. Bonus, you wake up each day with a fully charged phone. Going through life without worrying about somebody taking a video of you and posting it for everybody to see. This one, I feel like I missed out in college because anytime the slightest thing happened at college, people would instantly whip their phones out, and this was 6 years ago. I can't imagine what kids go through now. It's been 25 years since I was in college. I wish we had phones with cameras. Back then, a lot of faded memories of people and places that I wish I had photos of. The sad part is that most memories and photos now still get lost unless stored somewhere safe. I know a few great pictures or videos that my friends and I lost during the past few years because cleaning up phones etc. However, for us it was easier, yes. AOL chatrooms. Around 2006-ish, the internet moved from being a way to talk to new people to a way to keep talking to people you already know. That's super useful and all, but there was a lot to be said for building friendships with total strangers who you only knew by a username, but would still chat to every night. It was part of the internet of discovery rather than the internet of familiarity. I miss it, at times. It was nice to have it be so easy to build those connections. I like your phrase, the internet of discovery versus the internet of familiarity. It's a really good description. I really miss Minecraft before it was memed. It was such a wholesome game that I honestly loved playing when I was younger. It hasn't stopped being a wholesome game. There's just way more stuff in it now. My social life. As someone from before the internet era, what social life? Quite a few things I could mention. Going to the mall, privacy, etc. But I really miss going to the store to buy an album I like. I loved record stores. I still like buying the CD because it contains artwork and there's just something special about having an album in your hands that you've been waiting years to listen to. Now everything is on iTunes or Spotify. It seems more impersonal than it should. I loved Tower Records because not only did it have a massive selection, they also had that section with those cool McFarlane figurines. I spent so many hours browsing that store, never looking for anything specific but just enjoying seeing what was there. I was so sad when they closed down. Map reading and people's ability to give or to follow directions from place to place. I know people who can't walk down the block without Google Maps. I really wish I were exaggerating, but I am not. I think you might have rose-colored memories. I seem to remember having a hard time trying to find someone who could follow directions on paper maps well enough to actually give directions to the driver. Far too many times the navigator was simply the person who held the map until the driver needed to look at it. Of course, I also remember trying to get directions from people who would give directions according to buildings that weren't there anymore. That was always fun. Porn mags being randomly discarded in public places. Finding one as a teen was like an epic loot drop. I remember there was one in the park one day. I was about 8. I didn't know what I was looking at the time, but I knew I liked it. Outside. Not having access to literally all the information. By that I mean I love that there is a wealth of knowledge at my fingertips, but there's also a lot of garbage, noise, and information that I just don't need to know. Imagination is dying. It's good for the brain to get bored and wander and think and imagine. Nintendo Power. Oh man, I had a subscription for a year as a present. I still remember reading about the winning config in a custom Robotoni. Had an absolute blast reading every one. Don't remember what happened to M though. You have been visited by the toothbrushing papa. Like this video and subscribe to keep your gums clean.